Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. We are back in the old guy's shed for another video here on the 1978 Suzuki GS550 restoration I'm doing. Today we're going to be, at least for this episode, we're going to be going over the electrical stuff on here. I've already taken a look, got a few concerns about it. I've already identified a few things that I've got to do, and I've got a few replacement parts that I need to figure out how to get in here. So go ahead and get at it here. We've got lots to do, and we'll see how far we can get on the electrical system today. All right then, so the main part of the electrical system is right here with on the other side of the battery box. The battery actually lives over on the other side, and on this side we now have the brake fluid reservoir over here. We also have the starting solenoid. We have the voltage regulator, and also the the voltage regulator and the other part here. I just forgot what it's called. But anyways, yeah. So we got the voltage regulator here, and it's diodes, whatever the diodes are. Rectifier, regulator, and rectifier. Yep, it's early in the morning. So we got that over here on the starter solenoid. I can see there's been something done here. Not sure what. I expect they replaced this solenoid at some point and needed to do a little bit of a modification here. Looks pretty good. But we'll be redoing some of this wiring anyways. One of the things that caught my attention here, though, on the electrical system is you'll see this wire that's kind of just sitting out here. It doesn't go through the regular wire bundle. It's just kind of sitting out here. If I follow it back here, and I came all the way back and I took off the rear brake light assembly and the little storage compartment back here, I find it comes into this guy here and then goes out to two of the rear signal lights. I took this one apart, and this wire does actually come into the light in the body of the light here, and it looks like there's something missing. So one of the first things I did when I bought the bike was that I went ahead and on eBay you can find anything, and so here I have the a harness that I got off of eBay pretty cheap. I think it was like 20 bucks. One of the things I wanted to have it for was in case I needed to replace any of the connectors. Now here's the back part of that lines up with this part back here, and I didn't really see these two wires, or what would be normally going to the brake lights, and this wire over here. So I think when we get it all back together, we're going to have to make sure that the blinkers back here and the rear tail lights work right. When I followed this extra wire that was added in here, and I come up around the other side of the bike over here, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to see this in here, and I gotta find it. So let's see here. Yep, I don't know if you can see this or not, but right here, that wire comes up and it ends right there. It's where somebody cut it. Now, the one modification that I do know about on this bike was that somebody had put in a light bar on the front here. From what I understand, it was below the headlight and ran right here, and they had put a switch up here. So I think that is part of what that wire modification is, and I think I see, yeah. So there's one change here that was made that I can tell with the black tape on it, and the rest of them look good. So what I'm going to have to do is we'll get this straightened out enough where we can get the battery put back in, and then we'll go ahead and test out the electrical. I may do some ohm out the wires just to make sure I know where everything goes before I do that. But to get to this point, one of the big changes I'm making on the bike that kind of deviates from the original is to put in a brand new lithium battery for my starting battery. Got this off of Amazon. It was a little bit expensive, but here in Florida, especially during the summer, I can go months and months without riding the motorcycle. So I've always had problems with motorcycle batteries in Florida especially. So I'm hoping this lithium ion battery will be a godsend, and I won't have as many problems. However, when I switch to this, then the voltage regulator and rectifier are on the bike currently are set up for regular lead acid battery. So one of the things you got to do is put in a new regulator and rectifier. And these days they make one that's all in one. So I've got this brand new regulator rectifier that will need to get hooked up. And then also I've got another solenoid, a brand new solenoid to get wired in here to get rid of that replacement one. So let me get at it. We'll go ahead and get stuff started, replacing this stuff, trying to get the battery in, and then we'll figure out where to go from there. Alrighty then, did pretty good here. So far I got the starter solenoid in and started to figure this out. I've got everything kind of wired in place here. I got to find a spot for this, but first I got this fuse holder here, and the wire slipped out of that connector. So I'm just going to go ahead. I tried crimping it down and wasn't real happy with it, so I'm just going to go ahead and hit it with a little bit of solder here and see if we can get this to be probably should do this a little different. Let's see if we can get some solder to take on it. It's pretty dirty. If I was going to do it right, I would have pre-tinned the wire. And this solder is going to drive me crazy here. Alright, that seemed to have worked. It's not the best solder joint in the world, but I think I got enough in there. Might even just go ahead and give it a whack to make sure I got a good crimp on here. Give it a bit of a squeeze here. I had a part on the back was breaking, so it looks like the solder filled that in. Alright, not the best in the world, but hopefully it'll outlast me. So anyway, so good, yeah. So the other thing I needed to look at here was the old regulator, or I'm sorry, the rectifier. Yeah, the rectifier sat in here like this, right on this post that stands out here with the nut on it, and just screwed right through it. This new one, yeah, it doesn't quite fit the same way. I'm not sure if you can see that. We're off just a little bit there. So I think maybe like this would about do it, but then I've got the flasher tab down here. So this is where the bottom here, I hope you can see that. There's a tab where the flasher sits at, and that's right in the way. I can't really come up higher, so I'm thinking I'm going to do something like this right here with a long screw through, and maybe a standoff or something there. It's about the best I think I can do, and I think that will still allow the cover to get on, and it'll give me almost enough room to put in the reservoir for the brakes. So
Either that, or the only other thing I could do would be to cut this off and then drill a hole through the filter holder here and mount it like that, but I'm not sure I want to do that either. So anyways, let me take a look at this a little bit and we'll see if we can figure something out. All right, it's actually another day here. I've got this voltage regulator rectifier sitting here. I got it wired up and I was looking for a place to put it. What a mess. So if I put it, I had actually been thinking about taking either this bracket off here or this one here. This was the old rectifier bracket right here, but I really don't want to mess with this. I'd like to leave it original as much as possible. And then down here was the flasher bracket kind of thing here, and even then, fitting this big old regulator rectifier combined thing in here is a pretty tight squeeze. And I got the solenoid sitting up here, the main fuse there, and the flasher here. It actually took out the air filter box again, and was thinking about putting it in here. There's actually a little bit of room here, but then we've got a brake cable that runs here, and then the actual hydraulic brake system is over there too. So that's pretty tight there. So I was looking at it here, scratching my head, and remembered that the voltage regulator is actually over on this side, over right there where you see that bolt is. So let me go ahead and get set up over on the other side and I'll show you what my plan is. All right, so I just went up to the hardware store and got this bolt here. I made sure I wanted to get a hex nut. I had a couple of bolts, but they were Phillips head, and there's not a lot of clearance here. This is actually where I believe the voltage regulator sat up here. There might have been something else down here, but I'm not really remembering what went here when I took it apart. So that might be a problem later on, but we'll get to that if we got a problem there. So anyways, I've snaked the voltage regulator rectifier, the new one, through, and my idea is to go ahead and use this bracket here. It's only going to be a one it's only going to be held down by one screw, but I think that that's going to work. I should be able to tighten that down pretty good and it should hold. One of the things I was concerned about was up here is you can't see it, hold on, is where the tool holder fit, and it looks like I've got plenty of room here for when this guy sits in there. There should be plenty of room there for the rectifier regulator. And then if I the only other thing that could interfere would be the cover over here, and I already test fit that, and there's no it's pretty tight, but there seems to be very little interference there. In fact, when I do it, I'll probably tighten this down and then push it so that it's maybe even a little bit tight against this cover here. So yep, so I think that's a plan. Let me go ahead and get going on this and cleaning up the wiring. This should be about it for at least getting the wiring in place to where I know it's going to work, and then I can hook everything up and start testing out the electrical stuff. So I'll pause here and we'll be back in a little bit. Alrighty then, got this, I think I got this cleaned up good enough to at least see if we still, if we got any electrical problems or not. I got the regulator rectifier installed on the other side. I did have to come back, if you remember, on the solenoid on the old one, we had this gizmo here, and that was because it needed a ground, and the blue wire there was actually a ground wire. So I had to, when I installed this one, I just went ahead and repurposed the wire there and ran it over to my main ground chassis point here. it's a good idea to have a ground chassis point that's common, that's easy to get to, so I can keep an eye on that and make sure that it is stays clean and tight. The well, I did some resistance checks, and for some reason, without a ground connecting the filter box to the chassis ground, there was 12 ohms difference. I don't know where it came from. The only real spot though that it's connected to is up here, so I figured that, and it's got a rubber grommet through it. So anyways, I went ahead and made sure that we've got a good ground to the starter solenoid, got the flasher in place, got the main fuse in line there, and of course the main ground over on this side. So I think that's looking pretty good for now. And then over on the other side here, yep, so I've got the regulator rectifier here. I think I'll have to do something with this once we put it back in normal. I don't know if we can see. Yeah, so let me get this out of the way. So this the screw that holds the battery box in place interferes right there with the regulator rectifier. So it's a little bit fiddly. In order to get the screw tightened on the back of the regulator rectifier, I have to unloosen the bolts and kind of swing the battery box out and then get it a little bit tight and then try to get this fit in there. So it's kind of fiddly. I do, when I take this back apart for the final time and reinstall it, I do need to put another washer or something in here because we're not getting enough compression on that, but we can fix that pretty easy. So good. So I think we're ready to do the install of the battery here. I already did the checks with my multimeter and everything looks right. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this in here. I got this. This is the old strap. I'm just going to put it on here just to keep this this little bitty lithium battery from falling out. I mean, it's it's pretty sweet. I hope these darn things work. You know, these newfangled lithium ion batteries. We'll see. I don't know. For what it costs, it should last for 40 years. All right, that one's done. Now let's see if we get any sparks on this this guy. I did on both of them. I did take a piece of sandpaper and clean them up, both terminals, pretty good. When I go to reassemble it for the last time, I'll probably just use some dielectric grease on it after I put them on. Just goop some dielectric grease on there to prevent any corrosion. May get some of that other stuff, the terminal saver stuff. I got it connected there and I don't see any sparks, so that's good. At least that means my on-off switch is really off. I might change this to the side when I do the when I put it back together for the last time. In fact, I probably will, because if it's got a driver here I can use, but there's not a lot of clearance there. And I don't want to really be touching I don't really want to be touching that with the frame, even though it's painted. And it's not threading right anyways, so I think we're going to do that right now. If I got room. this battery did come with some pieces of stick-on foam stuff that I can put in to keep the battery from wiggling around once I get it in all the way. We'll make sure we clean that up. Make sure this, all right. Well, none of the smoke came out, so that's got to be worth something. All right, let's see now. So one of the things I want to check on is the rear lights, the brake lights, the headlight. I got that all screwed in. So let's see here if turning. You guys can see this. All right, so we got the lights on. Anyways, that's good. Let's check out the turn signals. There's one. There's the other. The rear brake light, the rear tail light is on, and the brake light works. Woohoo! We are batting 1,000 here. That is some darn good news. Let's check out the front headlight. You might not be able to see it, but it is on. It is on high now too, so that looks pretty darn good. I think that's a win. I don't think it will run right now. I don't think the engine will turn over because I think I've got something still disconnected on the clutch. I think the main clutch switch isn't connected, so I don't think it'll. Hold on, did it turn off? Yep. All right, we're good. It was the sun shining through the instrument cluster that made it look like it was still on. So had me worried it wouldn't turn off. Anyways, all right then, we'll go ahead and call this an episode. Before we do that, there's some things I want to some questions I know that will be asked. First off, yes. No, my shed is not usually this messy. Typically it's clean. When I start a project, it just overflows. Once I do finish the project, it gets cleaned back up and everything put back into place. So no, this is not what my shed usually looks like. It really, trust me. And the second thing is I do see a bunch of videos on people turning older motorcycles into cafe racers. I really enjoy seeing those videos, but only because that means that there's one less original old bike out there. This one is not getting changed into a cafe racer. If that's what you wanted to see, there's plenty other videos out there. This is going to be maintained as close to original as I can keep it, at least on the looking on the outside. Want to keep it running good, looking decent. And if everybody takes and switches their older bikes to cafe racers, then mine will be worth more. So that's my plan. Anyways, I want to say thanks for watching. Thanks for your support. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Please leave me any comments, questions, suggestions down below. Please tell your friends about me, and please subscribe. Everyone, take care and be good.